welcome back to my channel. This is Trans Guy Reacts, and my name is Nick, and I make videos about women's basketball, collegiate or professional. And today I'm going to do a recap of the May 14th WNBA games. It was the kickoff of the season. Very exciting times. Very, very busy. There were 4 games today, and the first two were at almost at the same time. One was at 5 and one was at 5:30, and the other one was at 8. Depending on what time zone you are. The other two were at 8 o'clock at exactly the same time, which was kind of difficult to watch, but I try my best. I'm going to do a little bit of a recap of what I saw. I didn't see everything, but I'm trying here. I'm trying to give you consistent content. So, first of all, it started with on ESPN2, you had the WNBA countdown. Lovely to see all 3 of those black women. You had the legend Carolyn Peck. You had LaChina Robinson and Monica McNutt. And they also had Aaliyah Boston mic'd up during her warm-ups. And she was on the show giving a little bit of feedback. Of course, there's tons of coverage on Clark. But they were talking about the other teams because I'm just like, we can't just talk about this rookie all the time. Like, she hasn't proven herself yet. And it's a little disrespectful, in my opinion, to always be talking about her. I get that she brought more eyeballs to the league, but there are already lots of eyeballs before she came. And there's other players that people want to see as well. So definitely appreciate that they were giving the appropriate amount of coverage to other people. I would say I found it, a little bit disrespectful, a little bit. The amount of players that were there for Clark and not for the Connecticut Sun at that game. I thought that was pretty ridiculous, but whatever. You'll learn today who's the superior team, and they did. I did appreciate, though, CarMax commercials, the AT&T commercials, the Skims commercials. It was great to see Asia, Sabrina, Sue in the CarMax commercial, seeing Candace Parker and her daughter Layla in the AT&T commercial, and then all of the players in the Skims commercials. It was great. Love to see that. For the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun game, you had Ryan Rucco and Rebecca Lobo calling the game, which they always do. Very annoying. But they're in Connecticut, and that's their home base, and they call all the big games too. But I am a little tired of seeing them. Holly Rowe was on the sidelines. It's just always them 3, and they're fine. It's just you want to see new people, really. It just gets kind of tiring looking at them and hearing their voices and their perspective. I think a fun thing to note that they did not talk about at all was that the Indiana Fever has Karima Christmas Kelly as an assistant coach, and on the Connecticut Sun, her husband's on that team, Austin Kelly, and that's kind of crazy because they have a 1-year-old, so it's kind of, I wonder how they make that work. Who gets the baby, part of the time, when you only see each other on road games, it's just ooh, what a rough life. For the whole summer it's going to be like that, but hey, you gotta work, gotta make money. Also, so anyway, the game starts, and it was pretty funny because I figured, Clark, all this hype around her, she's still a rookie. She's going to do rookie things. She's still adjusting to the game. It's going to take her a little bit of time to really understand how this works and how physical it's going to be. Her ass had a foul in the first 2 minutes of the game. Thomas went at her. Of course, Alyssa Thomas is the best defender in the league and the queen of the triple doubles, and went at her, got her in foul trouble. Then 2 minutes later, she got another foul on Thomas. It's just ridiculous. It's just girl, you're such a rookie. It's welcome to the league. So she had to sit down, of course, because she had 2 fouls already. It was nice to see Kelsey Mitchell on the floor for the Fever, because she is their actual true point guard, and she's the floor general, and she has the most points in the team last year. In the first quarter, it was 13-19. The Sun was up, and I was like, this might be the tail of this game. We'll see if they can come back. Because it was just very much everyone talks about the WNBA is a veteran-run team. It is mostly older players who are the best of the best of the best with honors. Let me know if you know that reference. And the vets were doing vet things, man. They were going off. And really showing these young Indiana Fever players how do you actually play the game. It's very physical, I'll tell you that. But Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston were pretty effective together for a couple of the plays, and that comes from the last season with their chemistry that they already had. So it was nice to see them working together. I know they're trying to make this Clark and Boston thing, but they don't have as much practice and time together as Kelsey Mitchell and Boston and Leah Boston. So it's a much better fit there. But Kelsey Mitchell is coming back from an injury, so it's gonna be a little bit hard. Ty Harris for the Connecticut Sun was going off. Oh my gosh, she was pulling so many threes, just dagger. And I think it's really funny because they're all like, oh, Caitlin Clark and her threes. And I'm like, she's not the only 3-point shooter in the league. There are so many other 3-point shooters who are really great. And Ty Harris is one of them. Aaliyah Boston had some trouble. She picked up like 3 fouls, had to sit down. And it took Caitlin Clark halfway through the second quarter to get her first 2 points in the layup. Carrington, Dejanay, am I saying that right? Dejanay? I can't remember if it's Dejanay or Dejanay. I think it's Dejanay. Everyone calls her Nay. Carrington was all on Clark, doing the most defense. It was pretty good. She was defending her, picking her pocket. It was a beautiful sight to see. Rachel Banham was going off. She had this really hard foul on Clark. But Clark got free throws off of it. But it was like another welcome to the league, Rook. Is how it's gonna be all the time. The vets were just putting it down on Fever, and they had a really big run. With 2 minutes left, the score was 31-46 Sun, and I was like, ooh. Then at the end of the third quarter, Clark finally got her first 3 with a screen, and then at the half it was 39-49. I was like, okay, maybe Clark is gonna turn it around and turn it on. Maybe she'll be able to pull this together because the rest of the team wasn't playing that well. Carolyn Peck pointed out that Stephanie White calls the games for the Big Ten, and I actually do remember her. I watched some of those games, and she was calling it. So Stephanie White, who's the coach for the Connecticut Sun, she knows how to defend Caitlin Clark, and so she was just telling her players, she's a great coach. She was telling them, oh, this is what you got to do, and they were executing. The Fever just couldn't handle that physicality. They're just not that experienced, and they're just not that strong. The Fever did, in the beginning of the third period, kind of start to get better and go off. Clark got another 3, but then she travels and turns over the ball. That will be the story of the night. And then gets another third foul against Thomas, which was pretty comical. I'm just like, girl, you can't guard her. Clark's defense is terrible. She needs some time to develop that. It's just, her offense is good, her passing is great, her defense is fucking trash. And of course, the Sun come back. DeWanna Bonner gets all-time scorer. She's number 5 now on the all-time scoring list with her assists from her fiance, Alyssa Thomas. If you didn't know that, now you know. Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner are together. They're a couple. And the funny thing about that is DeWanna Bonner displaces Candice Dupree. And now Candice Dupree is number 6. The funny thing about that is Candice Dupree is her ex-wife. And she has 2 daughters with DeWanna Bonner. They were talking about it. She has twins, and she had them with Candice Dupree. So, the intricacies, it's so gay, so lesbian, of the intertwinedness of the league. But hey, that's how it be. Taisha Harris had a crazy buzzer beater in the third quarter, and it was 57-65 the Sun. Carrington seemed to have this cramp or a calf injury, and so she had to she left the floor, and then eventually went into the locker room to work on it. But then Taisha Harris, DeWanna Bonner, and Alyssa Thomas continued to dominate the game, and then Janae Carrington came back into the game with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And I would say when Carrington wasn't on the floor, Clark started going off because Carrington was defending her hard, and it was pretty dominating. But then Clark, started going. She got a couple threes off after her slow start, and for a little bit, she was the only person scoring for the Indiana Fever. So it was looking kind of bleak for them. And then Alyssa Thomas gets her triple double. You gotta put some respect on her name. People don't know who she is. Always overlooked, but amazing. The defense is just too good, and the Fever couldn't handle it. The final was 71-92. That is a 21-point win for the Sun, a 21-point loss for the Fever, okay? They were terrible. Clark had 20 points, which is great, right? That's great. She got most of those points in the third and fourth corner, but she had 10 turnovers. 10 turnovers. That is ridiculous. And paltry number of assists. I think she only had 2 or 3 assists. You cannot have 10 turnovers in W. No, that is unacceptable, and I can't believe that they let her stay in there and have that many turnovers. But she's the new star of the league, so you just let her do what she wants. But I'm like, that is absolutely unacceptable. Melissa Smith had 13 points and 9 rebounds, so she almost had a double double. But everyone else struggled. They were not bringing it. It was. I mean, if Clark wasn't in the game, there would have been 20 points less. Maybe another player would have gotten 8 points or something like that. But it's like, Jesus Christ. The Sun, in comparison, the Connecticut Sun had several people in double figures. You had DeWanna Bonner had 20 points, Alyssa Thomas had 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 13 assists to get her triple-double, which no one's doing triple-doubles, okay? That is such a hard thing to do. She is doing it on the regular. Dejanay Carrington and Taisha Harris both had 16 points each, and Rachel Banham had 10. Even Brianna Jones had 8 points, so she's coming back from an ACL tear, and she's doing great. Oh my God, my nose is so itchy. It always gets itchy when I start recording. There's some kind of tick I have. All right, and the thing what I would say about that is this whole game, this fever, this hypedness of Clark coming into the game. She played terrible. She had 20 points, which is great, but she played terrible in general, and that is all to tell you. In the grand scheme of shit, offense sells tickets. It's great. It brings people in. But defense wins games. And the Sun locked them up on defense. Oh my God, it was beautiful. Chef's kiss. Now, moving on to the Liberty versus the Mystics game. That was on ESPN3. You had Megan McPeak and Christy Winter-Scott calling the game. Love to see the, black women doing, calling games. Great thing. That game was close in the first quarter. It was 23-30. The Mystics were playing pretty good defense, especially Shakira Austin. She was going off offensively. She had this buzzer beater with a three-pointer at the end of the half, and they were 40-43. And they had a nice little turnaround to get the lead there because they were down before. And then the Liberty were down before, but they came back. And then even Leo Edwards, the rookie, she was playing pretty well. She was making some plays. Julie Van Loo had a buzzer three-beater, a logo three, and that was at the end of the third, and it was 59-67. The Mystics. Liberty comes back in the fourth quarter and gets the lead at 81-78, and I was like, oh shit, like the Liberty's coming back, they're doing it. There's a point too that Stephanie Dolson and John Coke Jones were going at it, and there was like a hard foul, and Dolson came down pretty hard on the floor and hit her head, and I think she needs to be checked out, but she kept playing. But I'm like, she needs to go through concussion protocol. That was a pretty hard hit for her head. I would say overall the Mystics had multiple chances, but couldn't get the ball to fall down at the end there, and it was 85-80. The Liberty pulled it out and won their first season game. But yeah, I really would say that I'm pretty surprised because I kind of felt like the Mystics should have won that game, but it didn't happen. Now, let's go to the last two games, which are happening at the same time. Very hard to watch both of them at the same time. I mostly paid attention to the Phoenix versus Aces game. So DeWanna Bonner. Not DeWanna Bonner, excuse me. For the Phoenix game, Phoenix versus Aces game, Las Vegas Aces, the Phoenix Mercury. For the Las Vegas Aces, it was their banner raising and ring ceremony for their championship that they won last year. So they had a little ceremony, which was nice. Unfortunately, Chelsea Gray was out with a lower leg injury. And then Brittany Griner was out for the Phoenix Mercury with a toe injury. The new coach, Nate Tibbetts, for the Phoenix Mercury, I'm not very impressed with him. I've said this before. He has no experience coaching women at all, ever in his career. And he was hired by the Phoenix Mercury and paid the most in the league. If that ain't white male privilege I ever seen, no experience, but gonna come in and make the most money. Crazy. Anywho, the people calling that game were Tiffany Green and Debbie Antonelli, who is a legend, and then Angel Gray was a sideline reporter. I loved Las Vegas Aces, Becky Hammond, the coach. She was wearing this really cool hoodie. It was like these red and blue flowers. She's always wearing a very cool hoodie or some kind of jacket that's kind of like it's like expensive but kind of like chill, and that's her thing, is like a hoodie and a jacket. I love it. I love to see it. Um, Alicia Clark started pretty hot in the game. She was going off. I would say that first, even like Stephanie Colson was in the game. She was like getting minutes and scoring points, and it was pretty good. That first quarter, Aces blew out the Phoenix Mercury. It was 14-29, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this game going to look like?" But then in the second quarter, Aces played terrible, absolutely terrible. Mercury came back and they got it down to 4 points, maybe even 2 points at one point towards the end of the second quarter. And then Diana Taurasi went off because Diana Taurasi is the GOAT. She's the all-time leading scorer. She is amazing. She went off as she does. People talk shit about her because this is her 20th year in the league. She is 20. She is 41 years old, 20 years in the league, and she's still playing like she's 20. So she ain't retiring. She don't want to. At the half, it was 41-42. Aces were only up by 1 point, excuse me. And then in the third quarter, it was pretty similar. And then the final of the game, the final was 80-89. So Kalia Copper, Rebecca Allen, Natasha Cloud, and Diana Taurasi were all in double figures in terms of points. But for the Aces, it was Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum. God, my nose is so itchy. They were all in double figures as well, and Asia had a double-double. I think she had like 30 points and like 13 rebounds. She was going off. And then finally, I want to talk about the Minnesota Lynx versus the Seattle Storm. I was really excited because I wanted to see Alyssa Peely play. She played okay. The first quarter was very, very tight against both teams. It was like 26-28. They started really strong, but it was close the entire game until the fourth quarter, and then the Lynx went off, and the game ended 83-70. Ooh, kind of a hard big loss there. For the Seattle Storm, Nneka Nwumike, Ezzy Magmavor, Jewel Lloyd, and Skylar Diggins-Smith all were in double figures in terms of points, and Jewel Lloyd had a double-double. Ezzy and Nneka almost had a double-double, but it just was not enough. You had Nafisa Collier, Alana Smith, Courtney Williams for the Lynx. They were all in double figures in points. Kayla and Atisha almost had double figures, and then Nafisa had a double-double. So it was just a little too much Lynx at the end there, and they pulled it out. I did see Alyssa Peely play, but she didn't play that much, and she was in some foul trouble, so she's still learning the game. She's still figuring things out, but it's, she's working it out. It's fine. I don't know if Nika Mule played. I wasn't watching the Seattle game and Lynx game as closely because I was way more invested into the Aces game. So it is what it is. And that was it. We are into the schedule, into the W season. There's pretty much a game every day, and I'm going to try my best to do recaps every day. I might miss some. I might be busy or something like that, but I'm going to try my best to do a recap on every game as possible. Oh, and also one other thing to note, the Golden State basketball team that we're getting next year has a name. They're going to be the Valkyries, and their colors are going to be like purple, which is kind of reminiscent of the Monarchs, the Sacramento Monarchs that folded in 2005, 2006, something like that. Maybe even later. Maybe it was 2008. I can't remember when they folded, but they folded. And they didn't have enough money during it was like 2009 because it was after the financial crisis. But anyway, they are the Valkyries now, the Golden State Valkyries. Very excited, I guess. I don't know if I love that name, but it is what it is. They needed a name, so. But that's it. That is the recap of the games. Clark was a little bit of a disappointment, in my opinion, and there were a lot of games to watch, and the vets prove that the vets run the W and that they are superior players to these young kids. The young kids will learn. They'll get it eventually, but they are not the end-all be-all to these games, and they're not going to play that well in the beginning, but they will get it over time, and I look forward to seeing them playing better as the season goes on. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.